and we are rolling. So please introduce yourself and your wonderful band.
I'm Robin Stubbs and I play for The Ocean.
All the way from Berlin?
Kind of. I've been living there for the past 7 years, but the lineup we have right now on this tour is quite international. We have a drummer and another guitar player from Switzerland. They're French-Swiss actually, and then the singer's from the UK. The other guy's also from Berlin, so we're pretty much from all over Europe.
How much does your lineup rotate?
Quite a lot, actually. Although with this lineup, I hope it's going to last for more time, because the reason why we had so many changes was just that we didn't have the right people, you know, who could do it for a long time. We're on tour now for 3.5 months, so not everyone can get so much time off work. You know, other guitarists that we had started, you know, growing up kids and getting kids and stuff, getting married and all this kind of stuff. So it was difficult, and we do have this kind of collective thing going on. Meaning that we have a different lineup live than on record. Usually on the album there's 26 people playing. Apparently we can't bring all these people on tour with us for simple logistic reasons. So we usually play with 6 to 7 people live, and then for special Berlin shows we sometimes play with 12 or 13 people, you know, with a string quartet or something like that. But unfortunately we can't do that on the whole tours.
So what kind of, I guess, instrumentation are you going to have on your upcoming US tour and on these Canadian dates?
We're 6 people on stage. That is 2 guitars, a bass player, a drummer, and 2 vocalists. And all the strings and all the samples are coming from the sequencer.
Right. And why is it taking so long for any kind of, you know, Western touring to occur?
I don't know, man. It's really difficult for European bands to make it over to the Americas. It's really expensive to pay for flights. Working papers are a couple of grand to start with, and they're only good for a year. And then American audiences tend to focus more on what's happening here on the continent, and there's a reason for it. There's a lot of really good bands here, but that makes it even more difficult for European bands to come over. So I'm really happy that it actually happened now. This is our first time over here. It's been amazing so far, and let's hope we'll be back before the end of the year for another bigger tour then.
It seems to me as though you really have the almost a perfect set of influences. I mean, everyone from the Swans to Breach, I mean, the Melvins. There's so many bands these days that don't know all these great bands. How did you discover these bands, and how did they become your main influences?
I don't know. That's I guess everything I've been listening to, you know, growing up, somehow has its input into the music that I write. And I grew up as a hardcore kid, basically. I got into bands like Unbroken, Groundwork in the early 90s, and then discovered the more experimental side of hardcore pretty early, and been following a band like Converge from their first 7-inch, for example. And I discovered the Swans much later, for example, actually, you know, when they were in their best days. Actually, I was probably like 5 years old or something like that. So I discovered a lot of stuff later, also a lot of prog stuff and krautrock stuff that I'm really into these days, like bands like King Crimson, for example, or Andromeda. That's all stuff I've discovered within the last 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah, I got into a lot of prog and krautrock stuff 5, 6, 7 years ago. Bands like King Crimson, bands like Andromeda, even Gentle Giant and this kind of stuff. And that also had a lasting impact on the music I'm writing now, although it's more kind of recent influences for me.
Okay. Well, any plans for the tour? What do you like to do in the States? What are you gonna...
Well, I wish we had a couple more days off, actually. It's a very tight schedule. We only have like 1 day off in Texas, which is the worst place in the States to have a day off, I guess. But so we're not going to see so much, you know, apart from our beautiful RV and highways and clubs. But that's cool. It's part of a bigger tour. We've been out for already 2.5 months now, and there's another 3 weeks when we get back to Europe. So it's a big myth that you see a lot when you're on tour, other than highways, gas stations, and venues. But it's still great to, you know, be in a place like Kiev 1 week, and then 2 weeks later be in a place like Montreal. So I'm really happy, and we all love touring. So we'll just take it from there and see what happens and what we can do in our free time.
All the best to you guys. Thanks very much for the interview.
Thanks, man.
Travel safe.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.